Hi, my name is Nathan Weimer, and this is my co-presenter, Gabby Ferraro. Our project is about plastic pollution, and it is entitled Marine Plastic Pollution, Effects and Policies. Our presentation will follow this outline. 1. Plastic pollution. What is it and what kinds are there? 2. Source of pollution. Who contributes to it and how does it happen? 3. The effects of pollution on aquatic and human health. And 4. The policies concerning plastic pollution and what can be done about it. This brings us to our first slide. What is plastic pollution? Plastic pollution is the accumulation of plastic in our ecosystems, and according to Martin C.M. Bletler's article, Plastic Pollution in Freshwater Ecosystems, Macro, Meso, and Microplastic Debris in the Floodplain Lake from 2017, plastic pollution is classified by UNEP as a crucial environmental issue alongside climate change. Plastic itself is a material constructed by humans that is used as packaging and building materials in lieu of others like wood, metal, and glass, to name a few. According to Plastic Pollution, Why Is It a Public Health Problem by Andrew Daltrey in 2021, there are at least 7 types: high density, low density, and terephthalate polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride, polypropylene, polystyrene, and several others that vary in recyclability and toxicity. The prefixes often seen next to descriptions of plastic pollution, macro, meso, and micro, refer to plastic sizes, large, middling, and small, respectively. This brings us to our next slide. How is plastic pollution produced? According to Managing Marine Plastic Pollution Policy Initiatives to Address Wayward Waste by John H. Tibbetts of 2015, plastic pollution is primarily from land-based plastic waste washed into the sea. This means that countries that have coasts and significant populations near them are responsible for a sizable portion of pollution. Another contributor also comes from ships and oil platforms, for example, lost nets lost to the ocean. These plastics, once in the ocean, either gather into islands floating like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or they sink down to the seabed, even as far as the Marianas Trench at the bottom of the ocean. Our next slide. So who causes pollution? Plastic pollution is caused by a number of countries and companies, but the majority of it is caused by only a few of them. According to Tibbetts of 2015, the largest polluting countries include, but are not limited to, China, India, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, and the US. Much of this in some of these countries is due to poor infrastructure and lack of useful policies to contain and prevent plastic from entering the ecosystems. But countries are not the only ones to blame, as companies play a major role, actually a quite significant role, in plastic pollution. Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, and Nestle are top polluters and have remained top polluters for years despite these companies' attempts at greenwashing, which is a term akin to whitewashing, in which these companies pretend to be more ecologically friendly than they really are by making hollow promises. This is a credited source from breakfreefromplastic.org. This brings us to our next slide. What are the effects of this plastic pollution on the ecosystem and wildlife? The effects are generally classified into 2 categories: physical effects and chemical effects. According to Why Is It a Public Health Problem by Andrew Daltrey, physical effects are primarily from larger plastics and block airways and digestion, resulting in suffocation and starving, respectively. Chemical effects are induced by the direct toxicity of plastics or the indirect toxicity from the toxins they can absorb. Both can result in damage to the heart, nervous, and reproductive systems, as well as cause cancer. Microplastics have the particular problem of entering the food chain and becoming magnified through each step. That is, they are eaten by zooplankton, and then other creatures eat the zooplankton, absorbing more of the microplastics, and so on, until they affect vital species in our food chains. However, this also brings us to our next slide. What are the effects of plastic pollution on us, humans? We are another type of animal, aren't we? So we are affected in some similar ways. According to Plastic Pollution, Why Is It a Public Health Problem by Andrew Daltrey, Humans can also experience both the physical effects of plastic pollution, for example, with microplastics in our food, and the chemical effects of it, such as from bisphenol A, or BPAs, that were found in many baby bottles earlier in the century. A particular concern about the chemical effects of plastics is how some plastics can mimic oestrogen, which is a hormone and can result in causing humans infertility. Now, I would like to turn this presentation over to my co-presenter, Gabby Ferrara.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I will go ahead and talk about some policies that are currently in place to address marine plastic pollution in countries all around the world. For example, smaller countries are recognized for having effective policies in place. According to John H. Tibbet in his journal, Managing Marine Plastic Pollution Policy Initiatives to Address Wayward Waste, he addresses that many European nations have passed an EPR law, or Extended Producer Responsibility, which means that product manufacturers are financially responsible for the end-of-life disposal of their products. In an EPR scheme, brand owners must pay the cost of tracking, managing, and recycling of packaging after their products have been used. This ultimately incentivizes these manufacturers to create an improved design and to reuse and recycle their products. In addition to these EPR laws, these small European nations have many landfill bans due to limited space and have been using plastics as a fuel for heat and electricity. This is called WTE, Waste to Energy. This has been proven to be very beneficial and has led them to try and achieve a goal of a zero policy waste initiative. In addition to these policies in EU nations, there has also been effort from the IMO, International Marine Organization, to address the importance of marine litter and plastic pollution through a policy called the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, or MARPOL. This policy focuses on ship-source disposals of plastic, which could consist of nets, fishing gear, plastics, and waste from commercial shipping. According to John H. Tibbet, Ocean Conservancy mobilized a new effort called the Trash-Free Seas Alliance, which includes chemical and plastic companies, producers of plastic consumer items, economists, environmental scientists, and conservation groups. The alliance is using the expertise of members from different sectors to develop innovative, sustainable strategies to eliminate ocean waste. There has been much effort put into ways to help reduce and eliminate marine plastic pollution as much as possible, such as the NOAA's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Marine Debris Program. This program emphasizes their support for projects that research the impacts of marine debris on the environment, reduce debris occurrence, and create educational campaigns to inform the public of the issue on a national, regional, and local level. Even with these acts and policies in place, there needs to be much more action taken. In this slide, I will discuss the actions government and organizations can take to reduce marine pollution. According to Marcus Hayward, international initiatives addressing marine plastic pollution need to be supported by strong and focused scientific research, the engagement of business and community organizations, as well as committed government action on different scales which can support community-based programs that address the use and disposal of plastics. Some actions government can take have been stated in some peer-reviewed articles read. According to Marcus Hayward, he states that the enforcement of MARPOL provisions needs strong monitoring control and surveillance systems to ensure effective compliance. And in the article, Plastic Pollution is Killing Marine Megafauna, but how do we prioritize policies to reduce mortality, it states that sea-based items with high lethality are primarily linked to fishing activities. Loss of these items can be reduced at their source by improving fishery management practices and engineering solutions to reduce loss of fishing gear. These are just some actions that government can take. In addition, the action organizations can take are stated by Marcus Hayward as well, and that is scientific support. Scientific support can continue to be encouraged by organizations such as the Joint Group of Experts on the Scientific Aspects of Marine Environmental Protection. On the next slide, I will discuss some actions people and the community can take. Some actions people or us can take have been addressed by Marcus Hayward in Plastic Pollution of the World's Seas and Oceans as a Contemporary Challenge in Ocean Governance. Some of the actions he stated is to continue to improve the public awareness of the impacts and vectors of marine plastic pollution, as well as practical mechanisms such as litter traps. Litter traps are devices that can float on water and collect floating debris and litter. Also mentioned in Plastic Pollution, Why Is It a Public Health Problem by Daltrey et al., we need to both remove existing and prevent new contamination. Prevention is partially addressed by the slogan, reduce, refuse, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. This focuses on what individuals can do to divert pollution from the environment. And finally, as stated in Plastic Pollution is Killing Marine Megafauna, but how do we prioritize policies to reduce mortality? A combination of policies that legislate reduction, prohibition, and replacement of high-risk items with targeted investment in behavior change and awareness campaigns will likely generate the largest reductions in plastic-related mortality of charismatic megafauna. Policies and actions need to be maintained and improved in regards to marine plastic pollution. It is important to educate and aware the people of these actions that we can take.